Jonathan Gannon is a moron, a dingbat. However, his stupidity may be able to lead us to the question that some of you guys actually have. Is the NFL scripted? Dallas still stinks. Yo, by the way, Dingbat here, and hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're hanging in there. You know, Jonathan Gannon is a moron. Is a dingbat. And I could not be happier that he's in Arizona, far away from our Philadelphia Eagles. However, his stupidity may actually help us to answer a question a lot of people have. Is the NFL scripted? Now, I'm going to explain it in a second, but before we do that, if you're new to the channel and you like the content, make sure you hit that like button. More importantly, make sure you subscribe to the most censored, the most throttled, Eagles content creator in all of the internet. And also, just double moonwalk check. Make sure you're still subscribed and everything's going right, because there's been a lot of shenanigans going on. Now, I want to shout out Edward A. Wilson for sending me this article this morning, because it's really, really interesting, okay? And this could come, actually, if done right and if everything went right, could actually answer the question that many people believe, and that is the NFL scripted? Is the NFL scripted? Me personally, I do not believe that the NFL is scripted. Now, I'm a giant conspiracy theorist about most things. I follow pretty much every conspiracy theory. I don't believe in everything, but I know about a lot of things. NFL being scripted has been a hard one for me to buy. And the reason I say that is this. I think that when you say scripted, meaning that, all right, let's pull out of course I'm getting text. All right, let's pull out the script book. All right, on the next down, 2nd and 5 with 2:37 left in the second quarter, we're going to have Jalen Hurts. He's going to throw a deep ball down the right side of the side field, 40 yards, and it's going to be a 2-finger catch caught by Devontae Smith. And then he goes out and he has a 2-finger catch. I mean, it's very hard to make some of the plays that those guys make. So I don't believe in the whole scripted thing. The other thing is this. All these guys that are always talking about scripted and they're using gematria and they're calculating the calculations of the cornbread, they're always wrong. They always say, this team's going to Super Bowl, this team's going to Super Bowl, and then they're always wrong. They're always wrong. Okay? Now, what I do believe about the NFL and what I think is true is that the NFL, especially the referees, I believe they play with the lines. I believe they play with the money lines. They play with the betting lines. They don't care about ultimately the outcome of the game. They care about the lines. I don't think the referees make enough money in this league. And you're saying that they make pretty good money. And they do make pretty good money. But in comparisons to what they could bet by just controlling by one flag. I mean, you take the Super Bowl. Take the play to Bradbury, right? If they don't call that a penalty, it's a 3-point game. And the Eagles have plenty of time to possibly go win that game. The betting completely changes. They ended the Eagles' fate, but they also ended a lot of bets after that call. I do believe that they control the lines. I think the way you get around that is you got to pay the referees a lot more money, okay? Even mafia guys. You can listen to mafia guys who talk about this. They talk about, back in the days, they could go and they could approach players, and players would take bets and things. But now the players make so much money, they can't really get to them. But there's been proof that you can get to the referees. That's where I think the NFL has problems. I think it's within the betting of, the betting lines, not so much to change the outcome. However, you never really know, right? You never really know. I think on the back, and they've talked about this before, that if you look at the back of NFL ticket, it'll say this is entertainment, right? So this brings us to an interesting possibility, okay? The Jonathan Gannon tampering case, okay? Now, Pro Football Talk, they put this out there. There was an article on it, and shout out to Edward A. Wilson for sending me this. And basically, it said this: the Jonathan Gannon tampering case could, in theory, spawn an interesting lawsuit. And here's some of what they said, okay? I won't read the whole thing, but I'll read some of it. The Cardinals violated, I'm sorry if I have to get close up. I can't see. I need glasses. But this is what they said. The Cardinals violated the rules. They've acknowledged it. The violation created a distraction depending on the total amount of time Gannon spent preparing for the interview. The distraction might have kept him from properly doing his job, which could have undermined the integrity of the Super Bowl. So what does that mean for the bettors who wagered on the Eagles to win or to cover? The Eagles were on track after 30 minutes to do both. The legal argument would spring from the basic reality that the Arizona Cardinals blatantly violated league rules by planting the seed that created the distraction for Gannon, the distraction that kept him from properly preparing for the Eagles' defense. It would be a unique and aggressive legal theory, primarily because the industry of widespread legalized gambling is so new. What are the rules? What are the standards? And what are the obligations? Now, that's specifically talking about whether or not, the bettors would have a case. Did the Arizona Cardinals, did they interfere with the Super Bowl and therefore possibly in some ways fix the game or made it harder for those who bet the Eagles to win? Those people who betted the Eagles didn't know Jonathan Gannon was being distracted. The Arizona Cardinals were not supposed to have contact with him. They were wrong. The Eagles were pissed. We all were pissed when we find out about it. But Jonathan Gannon knew what he was doing. The Arizona Cardinals knew what he was doing. So to me, what's interesting about it isn't so much whether or not, the case would be, did they interfere? What's interesting to me about this and where I want to go with this is this. If they are sued and there's a lawsuit that comes forward and you could depose the NFL, okay, I want to hear what their explanation is going to be. Are they going to have to admit, like so many people think out there, that they script the games, that the games are already predetermined, like wrestling, right? Because if you got deposed, you could ask all these type of questions that people have. Obviously, I don't think this thing. I was knocking it with my big three chins in the back of my head. I don't believe that the NFL scripted. However, in a situation like this where you have a lawsuit and you can ask those questions, you could force the NFL under oath to have to answer these questions. And you know what? If they say, well, listen, we couldn't have interfered in the Super Bowl because it's already predetermined the Kansas City Chiefs were going to win. Well, then, boom, now the NFL scripted, right? But I don't think that would happen. But they could be deposed. They could be asked those type of questions. To me, that's what interests me more than anything. Now, most likely what happens is the court is going to protect the corporation, the corporation making the millions of dollars. Of course, they have unlimited amount of money, unlimited amount of funds, and this thing would probably get thrown out of court anyways. But if you could somehow sue the NFL like a class action lawsuit where they are forced to answer certain questions under oath, you could find out, is this scripted? You say behind, on the opposite of your, on the back of your NFL tickets to the game that this is entertainment, just like the WWE now says it is entertainment. Is this sports entertainment? Do you predetermine who's going to win? You can ask all those questions. I think this is a great opportunity to ask them those kind of questions. As far as Gannon and Arizona, it would be very hard for anybody to really win that case because I just can't see them winning. However, if you could depose them and you could ask them the questions, then we could find out how much the NFL is really involved in determining games, determining situations, playing with the lines, how much of that shenanigans actually go on. So I hope somebody theoretically comes forward and does this. I would absolutely love it. I didn't bet the Eagles, or I would do it, but I didn't bet the Eagles because, I'm not going to bet my own team in the Super Bowl. I don't want to jinx it. So I didn't. But this could be a very interesting situation if the NFL would get sued. I would love to see what their answers are and what they look like in deposition and what kind of questions are asked, because I think you could really, really find out a lot of stuff, even stuff that we may not even be thinking about. Just about like some of the things that they do behind the scenes that they're not supposed to do. Like, you think Arizona talking to Jonathan Gannon is like the first time this has happened? This happens all the time. What about Deflategate with Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, or when the Patriots were recording, people's practices, like the Eagles in the Super Bowl? So I would love to see this go somewhere. I don't know if it will. I don't know. But to me, this is very fascinating, and I think we could get a lot of answers for those who believe that the NFL is scripted. Like I said, I personally don't believe the NFL is scripted, but I do think that they play with the lines. I definitely think that. There are too many games where you see a call at the end of the game. It's just like, where did this call come from? There's no reason to make this call a penalty here. Only if you're worried about covering over-unders, things like that, then it makes sense. But I would love to see this thing go forward. Just my opinion. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. And remember, it's Howie Vision. We're all just living in it. So I see that NGAKOUE, I see that he just signed with Drew Rosenhaus. Did you guys see this? I meant to talk about this earlier. But he signed with Drew Rosenhaus as his new agent. I think that actually helps the Philadelphia Eagles, because Drew Rosenhaus and the Eagles have a good, long relationship. Pause. So this may actually help our chances of landing YANNIK. Denzel Washington out.